Hi there, just to say this is a short snippet from this week's main episode, which was published on Wednesday as always. If you want the full episode, you can find it just below this one. So a model is just a set of observations or propositions that attempt to describe a phenomenon. It's very, very broad, and it doesn't have to necessarily even be a strictly scientific thing. Of course, in psychology, there are models. Even in spiritual practice, there are models, because if we are trying to describe a phenomenon like enlightenment, well, anything we use to describe it, or any way we attempt to describe how one reaches that, is a model. It's a set of observations or propositions. So you can think of a model as like a set of descriptions or a set of ideas that describe something. Very, very broad. So for example, right, Einstein's laws of relativity, and even if you don't know what the laws of relativity are, in a mathematical sense, I'm sure you've heard of Einstein's laws of relativity because they're sort of famous scientific model. These laws are an attempt to explain how space and time work relative to objects moving at high speed. So the laws that Einstein came up with are a set of propositions about objects, about things moving at high speed, whether it's planets or a particle or any object. So it's about something. The laws are about something. They are a description of something. Now, this is where we start to even touch on one of the main flaws of models. And it's a really obvious limitation, but it's one that we often don't think about, especially scientists, and especially when you are in a rational stage of development. You often don't think about these things. You don't realize that this is the case. You just believe that laws are describing reality as it is. Here's the key thing about them. Well, here's one simple but very important critique, is that a model is always about a phenomenon. Therefore, by definition, it is not the phenomenon itself. So Einstein's laws of relativity are sets of descriptions, mathematical descriptions about how objects move. It's not the object moving itself, is it? Of course it's not, because we're talking about the laws of relativity. We're not talking about the objects themselves. You might say, well, we're describing the movement, and we can only do that through mathematics and physics. Well, yeah, but you're still saying I am describing the movement, and to describe is to make a description about something. You see, the keyword is about. It's about something. It's one thing related to another thing. It's something that is pointing to something else. So it's a law pointing to the movement or describing the movement. It's not the movement itself. It never is. By definition, Einstein's laws of relativity are essentially just equations on a piece of paper or a screen or in a book or wherever, right? It's not an object. It never is, and it never was. You see? So it's such an obvious thing, but it just shows you one of the main limitations is a model never actually describes a phenomenon accurately, because the only thing that can quote unquote describe something accurately is the phenomenon itself. And the phenomenon itself is not a model, it's just the phenomenon, right? And fundamentally, here's a deeper point, that phenomena in the world, fundamentally you cannot describe them, right? For example, right, you might, let's say that the device that you're listening to this on, you can think of that as a phenomenon. It's you're seeing it, you're holding it, you're interacting with it. It's a thing, it's an object, it's a phenomenon. It's like a a phenomenon in our world, right? Or in your world. But listen, if I didn't know what a mobile phone was, or a laptop was, or however you're listening to this, you could not describe that to me in a way such that I would be able to imagine what it is without other references. You see, you say, well, it's an iPhone, right? But if I already know what an iPhone is, then I've already seen it. I've already experienced it for myself. But without that, without the reference to a prior experience, if you just say it's an iPhone, well, I've no idea what that is. And you describe what an iPhone is, and you describe the color and the shape and the size. There's only so much you can do, right? And that's a simple example, but it's the same as happening all the time in human life and all over the place. Try and describe what a banana tastes like. Try and describe what a sunset looks like. I used these examples last week. You can't. There comes a point where you can't describe them, and you inevitably have to just say, well, it tastes as it tastes, because I can't describe it to you. What I'm claiming is that all phenomena are actually like that, because there's just words just do not have the power to describe how phenomena are. And so clearly, models never describe reality. I mean, there are obviously better and worse ways to describe something. Like if you tell me a banana is the color blue, maybe there are blue bananas in the world, but I've never seen one. If you tell me a banana is blue and you tell me it tastes like, I don't know, peanuts, well, you're not doing a very good job with your description. Obviously, there's better descriptions, but even the best descriptions fall short. There's always a gap between concepts and reality. Hi there, just to say this is a short snippet from this week's main episode, which was published on Wednesday as always. If you want the full episode, you can find it just below this one.